let me tell you a little story about Cairo and New Orleans. NERDSoul. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta, hold it down, bring you that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people, today? Oh yeah, coming with another wonderful episode. Of course, we got on screen NERDSoul, hip hop geek, putting it together, having a fun time. But today we're gonna get real deep with some grit and some grind with some deities, doing some stuff they should be doing some stuff they shouldn't be doing, and of course the cool show called American Gods. And I'm gonna jump around a little bit on this one. First, I wanna talk about the Jinn and Salim. Seeing them together on this ragtag road trip of theirs is quite interesting for a few reasons. This kind of like gives us some insight to who Salim is, to who the Jinn is, to who the Jinn's relationship to Odin is, and also why Odin is so interested in keeping Salim around. Because, you know, Odin's a god just like any of the other guys. He could have just been like, nah, you ain't allowed, you can't come through. So now we're seeing the reason he's keeping him around, or at least some of the reason. And the conversation with Salim and the Jinn about, you know, monotheism and him and Allah and always thanking him, praising him, stuff like that. And the Jinn being like, you know, I've seen this, and when the prophet came and, you know, we had to make our decision and everything, you kind of see the decision that they had to make, and for whatever reason. And we didn't get full context in the back then, but he said, you know, prophet came, you know, we had to either say we were going to be down with y'all or we weren't. But if we decided that we weren't down with y'all, then we were going to be, you know, demons or whatever. It kind of opens your eye into how he looks at Allah as opposed to Salim, who looks at him as, you know, his savior, the one who guides him, who provides for him, stuff like that. And it's a very interesting look at how both of them see that one God. And enter Odin. You see, not only here, we'll talk about Mad Sweeney too, but the Jinn isn't completely down with Odin. And it's not like he's like, oh man, Odin's so cool, I want to be down with Odin. No, it's that Odin has something on him, or he owes Odin something, so he kind of like has to work for him. And there's a lot of cases like this, even later on, where Mad Sweeney says like, I don't like this dude, I owe him. So if this is the case with many other gods, it kind of makes me wonder, like, why don't y'all just be like, yo, Odin, look, this is your war, man. Look, I'm cool. I ain't dealing with you like that. But back off of that, with that said, how are you feeling about Salim and the Jinn? You know, them sticking around with each other, staying with each other. Because at first I thought Salim had kind of made a choice and had something going on in his mind where we would learn later. But now it seems like Salim is just sticking around to stick around. I thought there was more of a point to him being there, like and not saying a point from a writer's standpoint, but his character, he had made a decision for a certain reason. And it doesn't seem like he even knows why, at least not now. Maybe he hasn't made up his decision. Maybe he's trying to figure things out. But it seems like Salim, similar to Shadow last season, is kind of along to see what happens. And I want to know your thought on that. Let me know what you think Salim will end up doing, end up happening to him. Because it just seems like he's not really down with it. He's not really into it, but he's into the Jinn, so he's kind of sticking around. To tag off of that, I do want to talk about the Dwarf King and just them going to meet him and how Odin kind of goads him into like, man, if I only had a really good blacksmith or whatever he said, you know, a really good, you know, machinist or whatever he is, you know, he's like, if only there was one that was around here that was really, really good, that could really do things. And of course, the Dwarf King is like, yo, man, I ain't feeling you. I don't want to be down with you. But then he's like, man, look at this spear, man. This is the bomb. You know what I'm saying? This is like, you know, I have to work on this. So seeing Odin's charm, Odin's compliments, and, you know, his kind of like, his wit work in these situations is always interesting. Ian McShane is killing this role. But even with that, you know, jumping back to Salim for a second, seeing how The Dwarf King looks at him, how he regards him, and then Odin regards him after that. But, you know, we're starting to see kind of like the weapons come together, them building this, putting this together, adding these pieces, you know, for this coming war. Next question for you. Why do you think we're going to war? Like at first, in the first season, I thought we knew why we were going to war. But now, after getting to the lower, which we'll talk about after the break, it doesn't seem like this war specifically has to happen. Like I said last episode, it seems like this is something between you and Mr. World. Whenever we meet other gods somewhere else, they're like, yo, man, I ain't got nothing to do with that. So let me know what you're thinking on that one, because I'm feeling like this is a war that doesn't specifically have to happen, but maybe it does. Now, real quick before we hit the break, I want to talk about the opening scene, which is the lynching of, I believe, Froggy James. Was it Froggy? I think it's Froggy James. That was tough. It was, you know, stuff like that is always tough to watch. But I also think stuff like that is important because we are increasingly in real life, not in, well, in media and in real life to a certain extent, seeing the diminishing of that time period, seeing the diminishing of the severity of that time period, and to see how visceral that was, how serious it was, and how dehumanizing, animalistic, and just barbaric it was, is important that we don't forget and don't decide that these were just indentured servants that was just like working for a little bit and then went free or something like that. So I think that's important. But to see that rage, that hatred, that, you know, that fire built up inside of him and carried throughout his, I guess, his ghost manifestation in that town is something that's quite interesting, especially being that it's a town with Black African gods in it. Seeing that, you know, Ibis had been there, you know, he had been there and he had wrote about it and he knew all about him. And then him showing up to Shadow and seemingly trying to send him a message, trying to say something, trying to get something out with the statement that he made is hurtful, it's painful, it's sad. But it shows, it's very similar to kind of like a Candyman vibe, if you will. And I really dug it. I really thought it was dope. I just, you know, it was tough to watch, but I really thought it was dope. And it informs on what is going on with this town and what is swirling around in this town. Because the young lady, I believe her name is Ruby, is the one that spoke about, you know, like such and such died and such and such died. And this keeps going on. And then Anansi seeing, you know, the young man, you know, he's a drug user. He went and got drugs. And then next thing you know, he's getting chased down by the cops. He's getting beat up and all this stuff. And let me pause that real quick. Interesting that this drug user doesn't have a hotline to call for help, because, you know, it's just so sad that he needs to just call the addiction network. Unfortunately, this person doesn't get an addiction network. All he gets is chased, beaten, and jailed. But unpause, let's get back to the episode. Anansi, after seeing this, gets a nice, interesting idea in his head to go and talk to Ibis like, yo, look, y'all been here all this time, and you know these are people that would, you know, usually praise me, but y'all be messing with dead bodies, or y'all playing both sides of the fence. And seeing that conversation play out, especially guessing where this might be going with, you know, because my guess is that, you know, Bast, Ibis, Bilquis, Anansi might break off and do their own thing, or just be like, yo, we don't have nothing to do with it. It's interesting seeing the relationships form, I guess, a little more in this one city. It's quite interesting due to the namesake being Cairo or Cairo back home in Africa, in Egypt. So I'm gonna put a pin in it. Let me know what you feeling about Anansi and Talk, because they've definitely been going back and forth. But I think I see Bilquis leaning over to Anansi's side, especially after seeing the unfortunate wake of the grandmother, and them standing beside each other, her sitting, him standing in a very kind of throne regal way, where, you know, the king would stand beside the queen and all that stuff. It's interesting to see how this might play out. Now, there's tons of stuff to get to after the break in just a second, but first, Cure Brand's gonna help us pay them bills. Oh yeah, check that link below. Hat, shirts, hoodies, all that jazz. Once you find something you like, of course, cop it. Now, let's get into, that's right, NOLA. That's right, Big Easy. Let's go on down south. Mad Sweeney got there. Luck ain't looking too good. You know, brother beat down, looking like trying to get the last little drink, laying in the streets. All right, then your girls show up. Here come Laura. You know how I feel about Laura? You know how I feel. I know how you feel. Hopefully I know how you feel. But she here, we gotta do our thing. And it's good to see Mustafa Shakir getting, you know what I'm saying, getting his work on the Samdi, because wow, this dude is killing it. He's killing it on the low. And big shout out to Mustafa Shakir, because just big shout out all his work. He's crushing it. But, you know, we get there, we're like, yo, look, girl hurt, she dead, I wanna fix it. You know what I'm saying? Do your magic, all right? And instead of, you know, kind of like approaching them in a way where like, hey, we really, really need your help, they don't even get to say a word before old girl comes out. She's like, look, we don't want nothing to do with Odin stuff. We don't want to hear it. Nope, nope, not here. And it's interesting that in these circles, whether it's Norse gods, whether it's new gods, whether it's African gods, whether it's whatever, it seems to be very well known that this is coming, that this is happening, that this is going down. And to see all these sides like, look, I don't want nothing to do with it, which leads me to continue to think that this is something going on between Mr. World and Odin. There is no real reason for a war, but we'll see how it goes down. Because maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm seeing this too small instead of larger scale. Maybe Odin is seeing farther down the street. I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, seeing them whip up a little potion, Laura gets a drinky drink, throws up some maggots. That was nasty, but whatever. And now she can taste again. Now she can feel a little bit again. She blows the smoke in her face. And what's more important about this scene is not her getting this potion that needs 2 drops of someone with true love or something. It's how Samdi separates from his lady, and excuse me for getting her name. Just put her name down in the comments. I'll read it. I'll remember it then. Let me know. But how they separate from one another and somehow join Mad Sweeney and Laura together through their act of intimacy. That was very interesting and telling of how the Loa do their thing, and also the unspoken growing bond between Laura and Mad Sweeney. Now, my question to you is it that Mad Sweeney has been starting to like Laura the person? Or is it that since the coin is inside Laura, that's building a connection and an attraction to her? Because I've been wondering, you know, because I've been seeing the episodes, you've been seeing it, and I'm like, is he feeling her? And I'm like, well, I wonder if it's the coin in her kind of guiding him to her, kind of creating a connection between the vessel of the coin and not the particular person. But we'll see, because they had that argument where she was saying, you know, you need to fight your own battle, blah, blah, blah. You know, before I said where he is like, yo, I owe him. And she was like, you need to figure out who you gonna be, blah, 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 all that. But my question is this, you know, when they were going through that situation and they were being joined by the Loa, she didn't seem too mad about it. So my question for you now is, Where do you think Mad Sweeney goes? Where do you think Laura goes? How do you think this plays out? And where is she going to get these drops of true love? Is she going to get them from Shadow? Does Shadow feel that for her anymore? Is Shadow in a place where he's like, I don't know. Maybe I love you because I'm supposed to love you. Maybe I want you around because I'm supposed to, but not particularly because I want you. I crave you with all of my being. Now, real quick before I touch on my last thing, Salim, I believe, did touch on something talking about my truth, and him and the Jinn back and forth about my truth. And here's my statement about that. I think Salim is tripping because he's like saying like my truth, or the Jinn said my truth or your truth, which is, I think you're like tripping. He was like, you can have your truth, but you can't have your facts. I think they're playing semantics right there, because technically you can't own truth. I don't own truth. You don't own truth. Truth is, truth is something that is a constant, like oxygen or water. It's a constant. It's just there. It's like math. You can't like own truth. Like, oh, this is my truth. No, you might have, Salim might have his own experience. Salim might have his own knowledge. Salim might have his own, tests or trials and tribulations, but he doesn't have a truth. He doesn't own it. So I think the Jinn is trying to like tell him like, yo, look, you're not the only person with the right answer, or you're not the only person with, this is something that you might have gone through, but you don't own this. But anyway, that was just irking me. You know what I'm saying? I know we hear it a lot. I know you heard it a lot. My truth, my truth. It's like, not particularly, like you don't own it. It's not yours to have. Truth isn't really anyone's to have. It's just there. Like truth is exactly what happened without any objective on either side. Whether it's like, hey, this person took my cookie or something like that. That's not your truth. That's something that happened, or this person did this, or this happened, and Salim, I don't know, I think he's trying to play semantics and stuff, and I don't know, it'd be tripping, but slide that to the side. Because lastly, I want to get into Shadow Moon, and let me know what you think. I think Shadow Moon's done. Somebody better be straight up with him soon, because I think he's getting tired. And when people get tired, they usually either lash out or they recoil. And Odin needs him. We know Odin needs him. They all want him there for something. He's not telling me he Odin. Anansi ain't saying nothing. Ibis ain't saying nothing. And I think Shadow's getting to the point where he's done. Let me know what you think on that one, because with that whole, he was like, I want a straight answer. And they're around giggling, laughing, and drinking and stuff. And to see the way he responded and how he walked out, I think Odin has to pay to play. You got to give him something. You can't keep him in the dark forever. He's a grown man. He's not going to stick around forever just because you're charming. You know what I'm saying? You ain't that cool. So he's going to have to give up something fast. And seeing that we only have 8 episodes this season, we got 3 episodes left, y'all. They're going to have to give him something, because that scene at the end is definitely, especially what he went through with the I guess, how should you say, possession of Froggy James. He's getting to that breaking point, and they need to show him something or tell him something fast. But guys, holla at me. I'ma holla at you. Down in them comments, let's talk American Gods. Tons of cool stuff going on now. We are getting deep into the characterization of who a lot of these people are and what I think and you think and we all think they're going to do. So before I bounce, I'm going to tell you guys to hit up ThatNERDSoul.com. That's right. Check me out right there. All my videos from the oldest, newest, latest, greatest, and all that. Then hit up shop.ThatNERDSoul.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt player. Don't forget to get one for them playettes. Then come back here, like, comment, subscribe, and share that NERDSoul. That's right. There's no better way that I can show people that you like what you are watching. So LA, what up? VA, what up? RVA, you got my heart. And please be good to yourselves. Please be good to each other. And remember, the best way to bring someone back from the dead is apparently hot and lusty. Peace.